Americans United for Separation of Church and State. And she told this story at a meeting 2 months ago, and I said, why don't you come tell it at our meetup? It's an interesting story. She used to work at the Fermi National Laboratory in Illinois, and she is now living in Shelbyville and is no longer working, but she is an active and respected member of her community. And I will turn it over to her now. She not only got the 10 Commandments removed, technically she got the 20 Commandments removed, because she got the 10 Commandments removed from 2 different locations. So without lawyers or anything else, we'll let her talk about that.
Just hold it real close to your mouth.
Thank you, Ed. Just let me know if you can't hear me. Not really used to microphones and giving speeches to more than like the 3 people that show up for my native garden speeches. Yeah, I came here from Illinois 9 years ago, and I did work at the Fermi National Accelerator Lab as a docent, so I was teaching science in a very high-powered scientific community. So moving to Shelbyville, to say the least, was culture shock in so many ways. But it was a job change for my husband, and we came here and kicking and screaming, and I actually have grown quite fond of the area, despite the continued cultural shock that never really goes away. I came 2002, and one of the first things you do when you move to a state is go and get your driver's license. And so I went down to the courthouse to get my driver's license, and I walked in, and the counter was straight ahead, and they asked me to take a seat, and I turned around to take a seat, and on the wall was this display of the 10 Commandments. Now in Illinois, I had never seen that before, and we lived mostly in northern states. So I was kind of taken aback and thought, oh brother, where did I move to? You know, it really just kind of bugged me, but that was kind of my first little introduction. And then a couple of years, well actually about a year later, there was some discussion in the paper about 10 Commandments, and somebody wrote a silly letter. So I had started to do a little research on the issue. Not working anymore, my active brain had to go somewhere, and I was in the process really of becoming an atheist. I wasn't a full atheist at the time I came to Kentucky, but I will tell people that Kentucky will make you an atheist if you come and stay here long enough. So it kind of pushed me right over the edge. But I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of history reading, history of the church, reading the Bible, trying to put it all together, and it was a long process for me. I wasn't like Ron Reagan Jr., who said he knew at 8 that there was no God, told his dad, and that was the end of it. I had to do it the long, hard, painful way. So when I came here, I was kind of still in the process of that, but I was also interested in history, so I was researching a lot about history and the founding of the country and those kinds of issues. And the 10 Commandments kind of played into that. I think it was, so I wrote a letter to the editor kind of in response to that, and it was fairly long, and they printed it as a guest column. And I got a phone call from a local minister, and I thought, here we go. Because my next door neighbor said to me, oh, they're going to burn a cross on your lawn. She was just kidding me, but I wasn't quite sure about that at first. And this minister called me, and he said, I just wanted to let you know that you're absolutely right. And I was kind of shocked, and he was from the Church of Christ, and I said, well, thank you. And he said, well, I've been trying to talk to my congregation about that. It's really hard here, but you're absolutely right, but you should be forewarned. You may get some unpleasant calls or have some unpleasant things happen. So I was pretty apprehensive about that. And as I said in the letter I wrote later on, the only unpleasant thing that happened was that I had a man leave a message on my phone telling me I was, headed for a hot place, and he hung up. And that was it. And so it kind of went away, and I kept doing my research. One of the things that also happened along the way was that our former Governor Ernie Fletcher was talking on the television at one point and said something about the 10 Commandments being a foundation of American law, and that's why they belonged on the walls of our courthouses and in our public schools. And I listened to him and I thought, that doesn't sound right to me, but I can't absolutely say for sure that he's wrong, because I just don't really know or remember my history that well. So I started doing some research just on that subject, you know, the Ten Commandments and the foundations of American law. And one of the best things I came across, I would highly recommend that you look it up. I actually paid a lot of money to get it printed out, but there's a website called rationalrevolution.net, www.rationalrevolution.net. There's an article by a man named Jeff Pierce. It's spelled with a G-E-O-F-F, or not Pierce, Price. Jeff Price, G-E-O-F-F, Price. He did a beautiful, beautiful 50-page thing on the Ten Commandments, American history, and law. And this influenced me greatly. He takes you all through the formation of American law, what its roots were, what John Adams wrote about it, beautiful photographs. Like I said, I highly recommend it, and it really, really affected me. And I thought, okay, that's it. Those Ten Commandments down there in the courthouse shouldn't be there. But I didn't do anything about it because I was still scared, basically. And I didn't know people very well. Plus, at that time, if you remember going back, the Supreme Court seemed very confused itself about the Ten Commandments, which doesn't really help the rest of us, but they were making some kind of odd rulings about it. But the ACLU, somebody called the ACLU from Shelbyville in 2007 and must have complained about it. It wasn't me, but somebody must have called them because they fired off a letter to the county clerk saying, you know, it's been brought to our attention you have this display and they need to be taken down. It was a very polite letter. We're not trying to be hostile to religion. I have a copy of the letter. And then that letter made the paper in the form of an article. And I thought, there's one other person at least in this town who's got the same problem with that display as I do. But nothing was done. The clerk said, well, when somebody complains about it, I'll take them down, but I think they should be there. We all like them there. They've been there forever. They should stay there. So, you know, fast forward a little bit again. I went in, actually before I went for my license, there was an issue in Shelbyville where, at the high school, where a local Muslim student went to the school board and said, I object to the prayers that are being said at graduation, which had always been said. And of course, the school just erupted because of this. She ended up having the ACLU go in with her and meet with the board. But the long and short of it was that the board wisely decided to just halt the prayers. I think, you know, a lawyer probably said, it's illegal, so stop it. And so they did. But there were 300 parents on the lawn of that school protesting, and it was a mess. And I watched the whole thing go on, and this young woman was so brave in the face of all this, all the controversy and stuff going on. And it really stuck with me, and I thought, you know, if she could do it, I can do it, you know? I can't shy away anymore, but I still waited another couple years to get my hair done. Then, actually, I went to get my license again, and that kind of capped it for me. And about the same time, I had joined, I'm a member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, but I also had joined Americans United for Separation of Church and State and started meeting with a group in Louisville. And being, you know, I think I had professional volunteer written on my forehead because they immediately said, would you like to be our rep to the National Advisory Committee? Oh, sure, I'm on everything else. So I'm on the NAC for AU, and I went for their training, and they really encourage all their reps throughout the country to be active in their communities in dealing with violations of separation of church and state. And I just thought, you know, really, I have to tackle this, but I don't know exactly how. And then last fall, the Shelby Development Corp gave me the Volunteer of the Year award and that was a big deal, and I was very surprised by it. But I realized that all this volunteer work that I've been doing in the community over the years, I had actually gotten to know all the major players in the town. You know, the judge executive and the mayor, and you know, the movers and shakers. They all knew who I was, first name basis. They all knew that I had been in very many different groups doing a lot of work to enhance life in Shelby County, work with the park, work with the arts. So everybody knew me. And I guess I was thinking, well, you know, they all know that I'm a good person and I do a lot of good stuff, so maybe this is a good time to do this. So I decided to